Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's go ahead and open up that waiting room. Let people in as we are, yes, a live show, folks. Just want to say good afternoon to everybody and welcome to the Daily with Doc and Becca show. I am your host and producer, Becca Dukes, and I am absolutely excited because we have an incredible guest joining us today. For our amazing in-person attendance here with us and to all of our online viewers tuning in from around the world, thank you for being part of our community today. Now, if somebody referred you to this program or recommended that you join us, make sure that you get back with them as they are your go-to person. They're the one that cared enough about you to share this program. So care enough about them to say thank you. And if you have any questions on what you hear about in this program and you want to start creating your own better health journey, they're going to be your first point of contact. Well, today we are honored to welcome somebody who brings a truly unique perspective to healthcare and wellness, somebody who has literally served our country while dedicating her life to understanding why America faces such significant health challenges. So join me in giving a warm welcome to Dr. Joanne Conaway, retired Lieutenant Colonel who served 20 years in the U.S. Air Force and Air Force Reserves as an aeromedical evacuation nurse. She was deployed in, were you really deployed in support of the operations like the
yes.
Panama and Desert
Yes.
Storm?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Serving as an in-flight medical crew director. But Dr. Joanne Conaway's journey didn't stop there. As a BSN, which is a Bachelor of Science in Nursing, a registered nurse, a doctor of traditional naturopathy, she made a pivotal decision to leave mainstream medical, rejecting the conventional approach of simply treating symptoms with pharmaceuticals. Instead, she has dedicated herself to what she calls the wisdom of a doctor, the compassion of a nurse. I absolutely love that. Dr. Conaway is the acclaimed author of Why Is America So Sick? Linking Digestion Health to Immunity and Hormonal Issues, a groundbreaking book that connects the dots between our gut health and our overall well-being. She's appeared on Coast to Coast AM. She is an internationally recognized speaker, sharing her powerful message about how we can transform a culture of sickness and medical dependency into one of wellness and dependence. Her expertise spans over 40 years in healthcare, and she's bringing a revolutionary perspective that the body is a fantastic healing machine that, given the right raw ingredients, can do an amazing job to heal itself. Well, today, folks, we are going to be focusing on Dr. Joanne Conaway's 20-day protocol. That's a transformative approach specifically designed to achieve optimal gut health so your body can better absorb the nutrients it desperately needs. So without further ado, Dr. Joanne Conaway, thank you so much for being here with us. We greatly appreciate you. I love you and respect you, not only as a doctor, but a friend, a mentor, a colleague. You are absolutely awesome. Welcome to Daily with Doc and Becca.
Well, thank you so much. You get me emotional when you start talking like that. So I
Well,
appreciate it. I appreciate being here. I always enjoy joining you folks. So happy to be here with you.
well, we appreciate you. I feel bad because I was almost in hugging distance and we didn't make that happen. So now it's got to be a little longer of a trip, but we will make that happen again. Now, Dr. Conaway, we had a lot of talk going on before the show, which, I mean, as I was listening, we've got 4 or 5 different shows we can do just on what we were talking about. But today, let's talk about a 20-day gut protocol and resetting the system. And it doesn't have, it's not just for adults, is it?
No, not at all. Not at all. Getting some fantastic results. I put together a protocol for kiddos as well. I put together a protocol for young kids, and I put together a protocol for kids that are a little bit older. When I say young kids, I mean kiddos that are still infants, okay? Infants and babies. But then let's take that a few years down the road, kiddos that are 6, 7, 8 years old. There's also a protocol that is more specific for those kiddos. And then the rest of us that can take pills, swallow capsules, things like that, then they do the adult program. So,
And I do have your protocols. So, folks, if you're interested in getting Dr. Joanne Conaway's protocols, I have PDFs of each one. Let me know which one you are interested in when you email questions at dailywithdoc.com. And Dr. Joanne Conaway, you have your own website as well, which I want to make sure people have the information to that. Now, which do you prefer, Dr. or it's DRJ Conaway, that's
correct.
CONAWAY.com,
Yes.
or JoanneConaway.com?
No, drjconaway.com.
All right, perfect. And folks, you definitely want to click on that services because she has written an amazing book and recorded a 2-part CD on why is America so sick. So you want to get her CD, you want CD set, you want to get her books by going to drjconaway.com.
Correct.
So Dr. Conaway, I know you've got an amazing presentation put together. I'm going to turn the floor over to you. Is that okay?
That's perfectly okay. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Becca.
You are very, very welcome. So, folks, enjoy, sit back, make sure that you take notes as you're in for a treat here with Dr. Joanne Conaway.
Thank you so much, Becca. Where I'd like to start today is helping people to understand that the gut is one of the most important organs in the body. Now, people would say, well, what about my heart? And what about my brain? And what about other parts of my body? All of those are important. But what I'm going to tell you is what you do or don't do correctly with respect to treating your gut is going to affect every other organ in the body. Now, it's interesting because when we talk about trying to eat healthy, trying to take in those supplements that we so desperately need, trying to, if you're unfortunate enough to be on a medication, trying to utilize that medication appropriately, one of the things that people just struggle with, and it was a concept for people to struggle with this, but one of the things that people struggle with is the fact that the gut plays such a critical role, whether you're trying to absorb nutrients from your food, trying to absorb nutrients from your supplements, trying to absorb that pharmaceutical, whatever it might be. You know, I work with many people and they're on medications and they'll come to me and they'll say, yeah, I'm on blood pressure medication and I'm just not able to control my blood pressure, and they keep upping the medication. Well, that approach becomes significantly fourfold. Okay. First of all, if a person has high blood pressure, we need to back it up. We need to determine exactly why that person may have high blood pressure. And then what we need to do is start addressing the issue, but you don't just address the issue giving it a drug. We have to really recognize that there's a cause, a reason for that high blood pressure. So we need to focus on finding out what the reason is. And so oftentimes what we find is these people are on medications, and according to their doctors, they have to up the medication in order to be able to maintain the blood pressure. Now, interestingly enough, I focus on blood pressure and talk a lot about blood pressure because back when I was in nursing school, okay, so we're going back over 40 years. I don't like to think about it, the fact that it's close to 50 years, but we're going back over 40 years to when I was in nursing school. I can remember being taught that if you had high blood pressure, it wasn't really considered high if you're looking at the upper number and you give 100 plus the person's age as a benchmark, meaning a person that was 60 years old having a blood pressure of 160 over something. Let's not get all excited about that. As people get older, their arteries get stiffer. It takes more pressure to push that blood around. So let's not get too shook up about that. So what happened? Well, the American Heart Association started to drive those numbers down, further down, further down, further down. And all the while, I'm working in the hospital setting. And what I'm observing is these people who are taking blood pressure medication who are having horrific side effects, not the least of which is not having enough pressure to move the blood into the brain. When they stand up, they pass out, fall down, break a hip. And as we know, most people who are on blood pressure medications, that's not the only cardiac medication you're going to get. You're going to get a bunch of others, usually to include a blood thinner, which is not exactly what that drug does. It doesn't thin the blood. It just prevents sticky platelets. But the bottom line is, and I apologize for being a little off topic, but the bottom line is these people, because their blood pressure is driven down so low because of the recommendations, they get up, start to walk across the room, fall down, break a hip. Now they have a broken hip that has to be repaired, but they're also on a blood thinner. So they can't have that hip repaired until we can get that blood thinner to clear their body so that they don't hemorrhage on the table. Okay, so back to what I was talking about. You need to help people to understand that it's not only the medication or not only the foods and not only the nutritionals that they are not absorbing well, it's also the medications. And so that's what will happen to some people. They will keep up the medication. And we can do a show sometime on blood pressure. We don't have to go into a great bit of detail here right now about that. But again, the bottom line is identify what could be the cause. And in many cases, what we find is the cause of a high blood pressure situation is stress. And when we talk about stress, stress takes a dramatic toll on the health of the digestive system. Now, I want you to think about this for just a minute, okay? Digestion, are you ready? Begins in the brain. What? Digestion begins in the brain. And what do I mean by that? Well, you have, whenever you, and this was proven to us many, many years ago, I'm sure you all recognize Pavlov's dog, okay? We ring the bell, the dog starts to salivate. Well, the same kind of thing happens with us. It's called the cephalic nerve stimulation. It's actually vagus nerve stimulation, the cephalic phase of digestion. And that's when you think about food or you smell food or you see food and your mouth begins to water. That's literally your digestive system starting to work, starting to kick into action. And so when you look at it from that perspective, there is such a strong link to the gut and the brain. And the unfortunate thing is many people don't realize this. Many people live every day with stress. They have a horrific issue with digestion. They may have constipation, diarrhea, lots of different things going on. And it's happening as a result of the fact that they have so much stress. When we look at the gut-brain connection, it's via the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is a bidirectional pathway. Things leaving the gut go to the brain. Biochemical messages leaving the brain come back to the gut and go out to the rest of the body. Now, if what's leaving the gut going to the brain is unhealthy, it's going to make the brain unhealthy. It's going to muddy up the works, as I say. And now the messages leaving the brain are not good, healthy messages. So bottom line, we have to determine what's causing the issue. Why does a person have high blood pressure? And then we need to start to approach it. We approach it from the standpoint of helping people to recognize the importance of diet, a good, healthy diet. And what does that mean? It does not mean go throw your eggs and bacon away, okay? We all know that bacon and eggs can be very healthy if they're nitrate-free bacon, and if they're free-range chicken eggs, they can be very healthy and very helpful, especially to the brain if we're talking about the brain. So we have to understand and recognize the importance of diet. We also have to understand and recognize the importance of diet from the standpoint of the amount of sugar that is in our diet, and understand that sugar, unfortunately, is a significant pro-inflammatory agent. It causes inflammation. in the body. It causes free radical damage. It causes all of those things that we need to correct before we can correct any issue in the body. So diet becomes critically important. And then health of the gut. From my perspective, if your gut is not healthy, you're not healthy. And if your gut is not healthy, you're not going to be able to absorb the nutrients that you take in. So all of that money that you spend on nutrition to make sure that your body is working like it's supposed to is a waste of money if your gut isn't working. And then the other approach is to make sure people understand, once again, the benefit of taking good, healthy nutritional supplements. So let's go back to the gut and talk a little bit more about why I feel the gut is so important. I've already said you're not going to absorb things. You're not going to absorb things properly if you don't have a healthy gut. The bottom line is most people do not have a healthy digestive system. And even if they don't have, quote, gut issues, they have issues. There's not a person walking this earth that, unfortunately, in today's time, can eat a totally pristine diet if they are buying any of their groceries from the grocery store. Now, if you're someone who's totally off grid, you grow all your own organic fruits and vegetables, all your own organic herbs, all of that, maybe you're the healthiest person on the earth, okay? But if you're like most of the rest of us and you have to get some of your food from other sources, then it's a challenge to be able to address the issues and keep a person healthy. Now, one of the questions that was asked by Becca was, do I set up a program for kiddos? Absolutely, I do. And interestingly enough, one of the things that we've learned is even with young infants, they can have gut issues. And so oftentimes what will happen is these young infants, their doctor will start to prescribe medications like antacid medications to these babies. And it's because they are having such profound gut issues. How do babies develop such gut issues? Well, there are several theories out there, but when a baby is born and comes into the world in today's day and age, oftentimes what happens is they're born cesarean section. Why should that be a problem? Well, what we know is if a baby is born vaginally, as the baby comes through the birth canal, the baby gets covered with mom's bacteria. And yes, I'm talking about bacteria. You know, for a long time, we used to think that we didn't want bacteria in the body. And now what we know is if your microbiome, your gut microbiome is going to be healthy, you need an abundance of bacteria, healthy bacteria. There are unhealthy strains of bacteria, but you need an abundance of healthy bacteria. And so babies get this coming through the birth canal. They literally get coated and covered with mom's bacteria. When they take that first breath, they suck in mom's bacteria and start to colonize their guts. Now, interestingly enough, this is the way nature intended, colonizing your guts based on what mom's gut looks like, okay? So that's how they start. If they're born cesarean section, it's a totally different thing. They're born into a sterile environment and whisked out of that sterile environment to the nursery where they begin to colonize their guts with bacteria from the staff in the nursery, bacteria from other babies in the nursery. So the beginning colonization of their guts is totally different than a baby born vaginally. The other big thing that I see very often is women who, for whatever reason, I can't figure it out, choose not to breastfeed. Now, if a mom can't breastfeed for one reason or another, and there are those issues where mom just can't provide enough milk for the baby, if moms can't breastfeed, that's one thing. But if mom just nonchalantly says, nah, I'm just going to go ahead and give that baby formula, that baby again misses out on bacteria from mom, because every time that baby nurses, it picks up more bacteria from mom. And all this colonization is going on in the gut, and not only in the gut, but in the mouth as well. We are learning just how important the oral microbiome is with respect to health, as well as the gut microbiome. So when a baby's born, if they are born vaginally, they're starting to get those gut bacteria, and they're starting to replicate, but gut bacteria replicate very quickly. They start to replicate those gut bacteria. And what we know is that if we do a comparison, so oftentimes babies born vaginally versus babies born cesarean section, we find that babies born vaginally are much healthier. And for all those reasons I just talked about, this is the way nature intended. So now you have the baby come into the world, and oftentimes what will happen is when the babies come into the world, within the first few hours, they get their standard shots, okay? And what we know is some of those standard shots immediately start to kill off the good, healthy bacteria in the gut. So now all that healthy bacteria that they picked up coming through the birth canal is being killed off. And so these are the kiddos that unfortunately, in many situations, we see will have recurrent ear infections. They have an ear infection, they get an antibiotic. What's that antibiotic going to do to the bacteria in the gut? Going to kill off more of that good bacteria in the gut. So what ends up happening then is these kiddos start to have all kinds of issues that are digestive issues. They cannot sleep through the night. They have feeding resistance because they know that it's painful for them when they eat. Oftentimes they will develop reflux. They will get very sick and vomit a lot. And it's because their guts are so messed up. And so that's why I have a program that I will use even with babies. Now, my two granddaughters have gotten probiotics since the day they were born. And, you know, it's pretty interesting to look at the two of them and see how healthy they are compared to kiddos that are the same age. They're much healthier. They're much healthier because they keep getting those probiotics. Their guts are very healthy. Probiotics are not the only thing, okay? You have to consider diet as well. So there's a lot to be said for all of that. But when we talk about replenishing gut bacteria, what we're doing is we're trying to rebalance what we call the gut microbiome, rebalance the terrain in the gut. And the reason for that is if your gut is not balanced, you are going to develop issues. Those issues will come in the form of many maladies. We can, for example, look at all the autoimmune conditions that are out there. You know, for a long time, people said, oh, there's no such thing as an autoimmune condition. Not true, okay? What is an autoimmune condition? An autoimmune condition is when the body starts to attack itself in some way. How does that happen? It happens because of an unhealthy gut. It happens because things that are being digested in your body are being allowed to leave the gut, not adequately broken down, either because you don't have enough stomach acid, you don't have enough enzymes, you don't have enough probiotic, which helps to build the enzymes. Something's happening in your gut. And now what's leaving your gut is not the normal small, excuse me, microscopic food particles that should leave your gut. What's leaving your gut is things that are larger than normal molecules that should be leaving your gut. And this is happening because your gut lining is weakened. And instead of being really tight junctions that only the smallest particles can get through, those junctions tend to loosen. Inflammation is going to cause the loosening. And when you consider the fact that the gut wall is only one cell thick, it doesn't take much to damage that gut wall. And so now what happens is larger than normal food molecules will leave the gut and go out into the circulation. When that happens, the body reacts and responds. The immune system reacts and says, whoa, this is non-self. There's something wrong here. We need to get rid of this. We need to act on this. And we'll begin to mount an attack, and that's an autoimmune attack. Now, that attack can happen in the joints. That attack can happen anywhere in the body. And people, one of the most underdiagnosed issues and problems that we have in this country is Hashimoto's thyroiditis. Hashimoto's thyroiditis is literally an autoimmune condition where those toxins that left the gut, those larger than normal food molecules, we now call them toxins, they left the gut, they now take up residence in the brain, they now take up residence in the thyroid, they now take up residence in the joints. Well, those that take up residence in the thyroid can cause significant issues and problems. And many people who are diagnosed with thyroiditis actually have an autoimmune condition, not just a poorly functioning thyroid. So, given that and knowing that, what we know is if we repair the gut, we can correct some of those issues. Now, one of the things that I want you to think about, I talk a little bit about diet and the importance of diet, but I want you to think about this. When we eat food, that food comes into our stomach. And before that food can be allowed to leave the stomach and go into the intestine, it has to be at a pH roughly 2 to 3, meaning you have to have ample amounts of acid in your stomach in order for that food to be broken down properly and leave your stomach. People who take antacid medications, or people who drink soft drinks all day long, people who destroy the acid in the stomach, are the same people we find with the beginnings of many gut issues, because what happens is they put that food into their body and the food goes down and into the stomach, and the stomach is a very warm, humid environment, and that food actually starts to become toxic and become poisonous, okay? Now, we don't like to think about our food that way, but if it's allowed to rest in that very warm, humid environment for any length of time, then it starts to putrefy. And now it becomes poisonous. And now it has to be driven to a pH of somewhere to 2 to 3 before it's even allowed to leave the stomach. If you have taken antacid medications and you don't have enough acid to allow the food to be broken down properly and leave the gut, then you're going to have this putrefying mass in your stomach that isn't going to be adequately digested. And as it starts to flow through, that's when it's going to start to cause problems. As it starts to get into the small intestine, that's when it's going to start to cause problems. So we have to start with the mouth. We have to recognize the mouth is teeming with bacteria and has its own bacteria. And that's a whole other area of study that is very fascinating, in my opinion, the oral microbiome and the impact. There are researchers out there that say 90% of chronic issues can be linked to issues in the mouth. And so people have to realize that there's a reason why we shouldn't be brushing our teeth 3 or 4 times a day. Twice a day should be sufficient. There shouldn't be the excessive use of mouthwash. Fascinatingly enough, and again, getting a little off topic, but when we talk about mouthwash and using mouthwash, you're killing off so much of the good bacteria that's absolutely necessary in your mouth. So given all of that and thinking about how bacteria actually works in the body, if we don't balance it, if we allow the bad bacteria to get out of control, if we allow the yeast or fungus to get out of control, if we allow parasites to get out of control, then we start to have issues and problems. So that is my approach. Again, let's make a determination. Why does a person have high blood pressure? It's not enough to say, oh, you're just getting older. That's not true. Okay. There are a lot of older people that don't have high blood pressure. So figure out why, address the diet issue, address the gut issue, and then make sure you're supplementing appropriately. So that kind of got off topic a little bit, but go ahead, Phyllis.
Yes. Hang on just a second here.
I got you.
All right. Didn't mean to break into your chain of thought here, but I had a couple of questions about I-26, which I know is one of your favorite products and mine. Number one, is it okay to take I-26 with or after a meal? And of course, no eggs in the meal.
Absolutely. You can take the I-26 anytime, just as long as you're not taking it at the same time you're eating eggs.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Now, what if I take the powder, mix it in water? Can I add other products in there, other powders?
Absolutely. Mine goes in with my BTT and my calcium. I just throw it all in together. Absolutely. As long as you're not eating eggs. Okay. Bottom line, as long as you're not eating eggs, you can do it anytime. Now, people will say, well, why do I have to take the I-26 if I'm taking probiotics? The purpose of the I-26, and this is the most amazing product, in my opinion, with respect to the gut protocol that I use. The purpose of that particular product is it is literally designed to help to remove 26 of the more commonly known unhealthy bacterial strains in the gut. And the first time I ever heard a description, it was discussed in terms of thinking about weeds in your garden. Think about the good, healthy bacteria growing beautiful flowers. And if you have an overgrowth of the unhealthy bacteria as weeds, you know what weeds do to a garden. Weeds choke out those flowers. Those flowers can't be nearly as beautiful if you have an overgrowth of weeds. What this product does is it helps to decrease the weeds. It helps to get rid of the weeds, if you will. And that will allow for the good, healthy bacteria to be able to proliferate and grow as they're supposed to. All bacteria are going to grow. We just don't want the bad bacteria.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to know I'm taking it correctly.
Absolutely. And that's the beauty of that product. You know, I say take it in the morning, mostly, you know, with the protocol, mostly because people want to have a firm time to do what they need to do if they're going to follow a protocol. But the bottom line with the I-26 is you can take it anytime you want, and you can mix it with whatever you want, as long as you're not mixing it with eggs.
So a good reason to take it in the morning is you've got your dose in, you're done.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And like I say, I just throw it in with my BTT and my calcium and my collagen and, you know, all the things I throw into that drink in the morning. I just throw in the scoop of I-26 and I know I'm good to go.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Phyllis, for bringing up I-26. And since we're on the I-26 subject, what about the temperature of the liquid you put it in? Does that have a difference?
Yeah, it does. And, you know, if you're going to use it, don't put it in hot water. Don't put it in your tea. Heat will denature the proteins. So, and most people wouldn't do that anyway. And, you know, to be perfectly honest, to put a scoop of the I-26 into a glass of water and drink it is not palatable. And so bottom line is most people do throw it in with their BTT and whatever else they're taking because it doesn't taste good. I mean, it's like eating a raw egg, and most people don't like the flavor of raw egg. Okay, so you're not going to do that. But put it in hot water, you will denature the proteins.
Right. So for me, the I-26 powder, mix it in. I do just about 4 ounces of water and drink it. It tastes like the shell of an eclair without being bad for you.
Okay.
So it's got that little bit of an eggy, but of course you're missing out on the cream and the chocolate. But it's not bad at all. I enjoy it. And then of course there's the chewables. For those of you who prefer the chewables, there's a banana. And then there's also a coconut. No, there's a banana, coconut, and a vanilla. And the powder also comes in a vanilla. So different tastes. And there's also capsules. So if you want to take 9 capsules to get 1 dose of I-26, we've got that there for you as well. And
I won't do that because I take enough capsules. I don't need 9 additional capsules.
I'm with you. Yeah. It's easier just to mix it in with the drink. Are you ready for another question?
Sure.
All right, AJ. I know you have some great questions. Which one are you going to start with?
I'm going to start with the fact that I like the vanilla, the chewables. What do you think about the chewables? Is it not medicine or is this okay? Okay,
I don't think of anything that we have in the line as being medicine to start with. Okay,
excuse me.
What we do is we take supplements. Okay, no, I think it's a great product. I personally do not like it. That's my. But I also would not drink my I-26 mixed with water. So I just, it's everybody's taste buds are different. But no, it's a great product. And in fact, it's great for kiddos. Kiddos, they'll lap it up. They think it's great. So no, it is. It's just make sure you read the label because, you know, to get the equivalent dose, you have to read the label. Just like with the capsules, people say, oh, I'll just do the capsules and I'll do 1 or 2 of the capsules. Well, 1 or 2 of the capsules isn't going to do it for you. That's not an equivalent dose to the scoop of the powder.
Mhm. Yeah, Becca thinks that they taste good because she's used to farm fresh eggs and it just reminds her of home, I guess. So,
Big difference.
Big.
so Dr. Conaway, you know, I mentioned that in my neighborhood, in my travels, I've noticed, well, a specific example, I did a book bag giveaway on Saturday, and there was a very high percentage, I would say at least 20% of the children were had some sort of developmental issue. I remember one little girl, and I said, well, what color bag do you want? And, you know, she had such a nice smile. And her mom said, well, she's nonverbal. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then there was another one. I mean, there was literally out of 200 bags we gave away, 30, 40 kids had some sort of issue. I live across the street from a place where they have 5 school buses that they bring the kids in. The people are very caring. They care for the kids, like they hold them, walk them, but they all are there because they have a developmental issue and they come to this center for schooling, etc. And it appears to me that there is a large increase in this phenomenon. Do you see it as an increase? And what could be the source and what may be able to be done?
Absolutely. I see it as an increase. I was listening to an interview yesterday, and they were talking about the fact that at this particular point in time, there are not enough child psychologists. There are not enough psychologists for kiddos in the school system. And it's because there are so many kiddos that are having issues and problems. So what do I say? What I say is go back to the beginning. As I say with everything, diet is paramount. And what we've learned is with so many of these kids that are either autistic or they have ADD, ADHD, they're somehow on the spectrum, cleaning up the diet and fixing the gut goes a long way toward fixing the problem. I have a story that, you know, makes me emotional every time I talk about it, but this woman contacted me one day because she found out about me, and she said that she had an adopted daughter. This adopted daughter was adopted from Russia, okay? 3 years old. This child was nonverbal, didn't make eye contact. You know, the thing that was so sad about this is these parents wanted so desperately to have a child. They get this adopted child, and it's just an entity living in their home. And so, I mean, profound autism. And so she wanted to know if there was anything that I could do. And what I did was I started the baby on my gut protocol, okay? And the mother called me in 5 days and said to me, I cannot believe this child is making eye contact and uttering sounds. Not words, but uttering sounds and making eye contact. And that was in 5 days. Within just a few months, the baby was perfectly normal and healthy. The baby's now in elementary school and doing very well. It's amazing what can be done if a person recognizes that the basic problem is a gut issue and we work toward correcting what that gut issue is. We can turn these kids around.
Amazing.
It was amazing. It was amazing. And, you know, every time I tell that story, I kind of choke up because, you know, from my perspective, thinking about a couple wanting a baby so desperately that they adopt a baby, and then what do they get?
For sure. Was there any supplementation involved?
Oh, absolutely. We supplemented as well. You know, I put the baby on the gut protocol, but I put the baby on the basic 90 as well. So.
And then, you know, and I said, I don't know, Becca, how this fits in necessarily, but sometimes you encounter people who are just not responding to the gut cleanse, not necessarily responding to the nutrients in the way that you see most people respond to it. And then you're on the internet, and some people say things like, well, the only reason you have diabetes is because you have a parasite. The only reason you have cancer, it's not really cancer, it's a parasite. Royal Rife proved it because he just used, the frequency for a parasite and got rid of the parasite, and there was no more cancer. So I'm just curious to know what your opinion of this is, so that we may have just a little more clarity from someone I respect.
Well, I appreciate that, AJ. That's a great question. I am not going to say parasites do or do not cause diabetes, and I'm not going to say parasites do or do not cause cancer. But what I will say is research has shown us that 85% of us across the board have parasites. And people say, how can that possibly be? I haven't been to a third world country, which unfortunately is a misconception. You don't have to be to a third world country to get parasites. We have plenty of parasites to share right here in this country. Food coming in from all over the world, food or parasites in our water, our pets with parasites. So many people don't even think about their pets and parasites. But if you have a pet, if you have a dog, for example, you're told to worm that dog a couple of times a year. Why? Because dogs have parasites. They get into things. Even if you watch them very closely, they get into things. And then you let them lick you, give you those little puppy kisses, or you let them sleep in your bed with you, or you let them in the kitchen where you prepare food. They share their parasites. Or you walk barefoot in the yard. You don't have to step in it to get their parasites, but they defecate in the yard. And even if you're fastidious about cleaning it up, there could well be parasites left behind. You go out and you're going to do yourself a lot of benefit. You're going to go out because you're grounding. Okay. So you're going to go out barefoot. But now you're walking barefoot through a yard that has parasites and you didn't realize it. Those parasites can enter your body through the bottoms of your feet. So there are various different ways. Now, like I said, researchers say 85% of us have parasites. There are researchers out there that say if you're walking, talking, taking nutrition, you all have parasites, 100% of us, okay? Now, when we talk about parasites from that perspective, parasites can impact and affect people in various different ways. I've seen people who have gut issues based on parasites. And when they do a parasite cleanse, they'll pass a tapeworm, or they'll pass, they'll describe the worm was 36 inches long. Well, sadly enough, they can get to be that big. But I've also had people report back to me that their parasites left their body coming through the skin, parasites left their body coming through the eyeballs. There are various different ways parasites will leave you when you do a good parasite cleanse. And yeah, it's the willies for sure. However, better out than in, okay? So what I say is everyone should do a parasite cleanse periodically. I, for example, encourage all of my clients to do the parasite cleanse twice a year, because most of us, myself included, I know I'm exposed to parasites. I like ceviche. I like steak tartare. That's not what I eat all the time, but I do eat it. And I do know that there's a likelihood that I have encountered parasites as a result of that.
The doggy kiss your puppy?
I'm here to tell you, I don't let my dogs lick me. My dogs have never been allowed to give kisses. I just don't do it, because I've always understood this. I've always recognized, even since I was little, and I guess it's my mother and dad instilled it in me. Don't let them lick you. And, whether they knew for sure that it was parasites, I don't know, but it was always don't let them lick you. And so there are various other different ways you can share love with your animal that doesn't include licking you. So, and I know sometimes that's a challenge. Puppies love to give little kisses, right? But you don't want to risk it. Or if you do risk it, just make sure you do a parasite cleanse periodically.
And what does that entail? I know that we have your 20-day gut protocol, which I hope you go into more in depth about. But what does the parasite cleanse entail? How do we do it? How do we get a hold of it, etc.?
Okay, well, I can email a copy of what we refer to as the full moon cleanse. And if you send an email to, just send it to ask the doctor. So spell out the word ask the doctor at drjconaway.com. I can send you a copy of that protocol. What it entails is using a fantastic product that's in the line that is an actual anti-parasitic. But in addition to using that product, the protocol is going to be new. And this is just as of yesterday that I found this out. We are now also using the lymphatic support along with the GI cleanse product. And that's because that helps to open up an additional detox pathway. So those products are used every day. And then the day before, the day of, and the day after the full moon, there's a more aggressive protocol that tricks the parasites to come out into the gut instead of being hidden behind the gut wall. Okay. It tricks the parasites to come out into the gut, and that way they can be more easily expelled. Now, I say gut. What we know is this particular protocol has worked very, very well on people with parasites, no matter where they have them. I have, over the course of the last several years, worked with 3 people who unfortunately were totally disabled because of parasites. And it was not recognized that that's what it was. For 3 years, these people suffered. They had horrific headaches, ringing in the ears, blurred vision, restlessness. They couldn't sleep through the night. They couldn't function during the day. They were literally disabled. And it was determined they had parasites on the brain. And they did the protocol. And lo and behold, they're all leading normally healthy lives, back to work, being productive members of society. But these were people who were totally disabled because of parasites. And they were that way for so long because conventional medicine does not yet understand the impact of parasites.
You know, you're just full of amazing stories, and that's why we need to have you on more often. How would someone detect that they have a parasite problem?
Well, with the parasite protocol that I put out a list of symptoms that are often associated with parasites. Now, many of those symptoms are gut issues, the same kind of gut problems and issues that you would see if you have an imbalanced microbiome. And so that's sometimes confusing for some people. But what I tell people is if you have digestive issues and you've done that 20-day protocol, and you've done the 20-day protocol and then repeated the 20-day protocol, but you're still having gut issues, well, let's consider that it's not the bacterial balance. Let's consider that it might be parasites and address it from that perspective. I do not start out addressing parasites. And I'll be perfectly honest, I want a person nutrified before they go ahead and do the parasite cleanse. Meaning, I want them to understand healthy diet, healthy gut, good supplementation. And I like them to be on that path for at least 60 days before I start chasing out parasites.
So thank you so much, because we get a lot of questions in regards to parasites. And I love the fact that you want them nutrified before they start going after parasites.
Absolutely.
So you had mentioned earlier about when AJ was talking about these kiddos that have developmental delays. Now, as adults, I also see a rise in mental health. And it's not because we don't have enough psychiatrists and counselors.
Or enough drugs, no.
Or drugs.
There are plenty of drugs.
Which, I mean, so many of the drugs create additional nutritional deficiencies. So where would you start? Would you start somebody on a 20-day gut protocol if we're working with them and there are known mental health conditions?
Absolutely. That's where I start. I start with diet and the 20-day protocol. I start everyone with diet and the 20-day protocol. And the way the 20-day protocol is designed, and this is just so you know, a lot of times people will say, I'm struggling financially. I cannot afford to do the 20-day protocol and the 90 nutrients right now. That is the reason why in my protocol, it calls for 2 bottles of the plant-derived minerals. And the reason for that is we all know that when we start talking about the 90 essential nutrients, that a major portion of that is the minerals. That will begin to nutrify a person who can't go with the Healthy Body Start Pack because they can't afford it. So that's the reason why the minerals are included in my 20-day protocol, because when a person starts, I am of the opinion that if they want to get the best benefit for the money that they're spending, their gut needs to be working and absorbing. And so I start people on the 20-day protocol. If they can afford the 20-day protocol and the Healthy Start Pack all at the same time, all the better. But if they can't, they're at least starting to nutrify from the standpoint of the minerals if they're doing the 20-day protocol.
Perfect.
And the other thing that's part of the protocol is the collagen. And the reason for the collagen is because we know that the collagen helps to repair the gut lining. Your gut lining is primarily collagen, and so the collagen helps to repair the gut lining. The other thing that I include is the antioxidant response, which should be called anti-inflammatory because it is so powerful as an anti-inflammatory. But if a person has known gut issues, for example, they have irritable bowel syndrome, they have Crohn's disease, they have colitis, they have anything that would indicate an inflammation in the gut, we want to stop that inflammation. That antioxidant response will do that. And that's why it's part of the protocol for those people who have known gut issues.
Okay. Now we have a question out on Rumble, and we're talking about RA.
Okay.
So Dr. Wallach says that it's a secondary infection of a parasite
Or
right?
mycoplasma.
Mycoplasma. Would the parasite cleanse help with that, or how would you approach working with somebody who has RA?
Well, the parasite cleanse may help with that, but I do have a protocol, a specific protocol for rheumatoid arthritis that I put people on. And, you know, if this person will just send an email, I'm more than happy to send the protocol for the rheumatoid arthritis. But, you know, and again, I have to give credit where credit is due. Last night I had Brett Bashawati on my Tuesday night call, and he went into significant detail around what they're doing. And I'll be changing up the protocol a little bit. So give me a couple of days, but I'll be changing up the protocol a little bit to include what they're currently doing and seeing such tremendous success with. And I cannot recall it off the top of my head. I've got it in my notes, but I can't recall it off the top of my head. But again, it's to get rid of those offending organisms.
Oh, fantastic. And we're actually going to have a replay of that interview with Dr. Joanne Conaway and Brett Bashawati on one of the Facebook pages, groups. It's a private group, so you have to request to join. And if you'd like to be part of that group, email us questions at dailywithdoc.com, and I will send you then the link to that group so you can request to join, and then we'll get you in and tag you on this interview. It was amazing, Dr. Joanna Conaway. He's awesome.
He is amazing. And, you know, the research that he's done and the research that he's able to do because the affiliates he has and the doctors that he works with has, you know, just proven to us so many different things with respect to the benefit of the herbs. But even he'll tell you the herbs are not the answer. You have to nutrify the body. You have to have the 90 nutrients, and then the herbs are an adjunct. And he gave a very nice description of why he feels that way and a good analogy. So
fantastic. And AJ is bringing in another question. AJ.
AJ just wants to pick Dr. Conaway's brain. I'm so sorry, but you know, you once said to us an alternative to your 20-day protocol. But before I finish that thought, do you want us not to share, like, let's say I asked you for the RA protocol. Do you want us not to share that RA protocol? Do you want them to come directly to you in order to obtain that? Or
No,
it?
not necessarily. And in fact, I would prefer that they not come directly to me because of my busy lifestyle. I'm not always able to answer quickly. Okay. No, they can certainly come to you. The biggest reason why I asked people to come to me in the beginning was because people were taking my protocol and they were making the decision that, oh, I think this will work better. And they were changing my protocol, putting it up on Facebook saying, Dr. Conaway says. And it's like, no, wait just a minute. We're not going to do that anymore. Okay. So I asked people to come to me for my protocols because, people say, oh, well, I think this will work better. Well, okay. Where did you get your degree?
Absolutely. Yeah, everyone's got a DR in front of their name all of a sudden. So, uh, but I did hear you once say, and correct me if I'm wrong, you may have just wanted to be flippant with us that day, but it sounded like you said you could just take 2 doses of the ultimate microbiome a day and do a good job with restoring your gut. Is that
okay. Okay. That is what I said. Okay. I'm not sure I said a good job of restoring your gut because what I know is if you're using the ultimate microbiome, it has most of what's in the 20-day protocol. It just does not have it in the volumes that are in the 20-day protocol. Okay. But a lot of people say there's no way I can afford that 20-day protocol, to which I say, do the microbiome twice a day. Once in the morning, once in the afternoon. Make sure you're doing it away from eggs because it does have the I-26 product in it. So, but it has I-26, it has probiotics, prebiotics, postbiotics. It has the same elements, just not in the large volumes that are in the 20-day protocol.
so? Would someone do the ultimate microbiome 3 times a day?
They certainly could. But, if they're going to afford that 3 times a day, then we're talking about being able to afford the 20-day protocol. So,
pharmacist Ben, I do a show with him once a week, and he always says, he talks about the gut being, the core of things. He's got a whole thing, triangle of disease, plane of disease, point of disease, thing starts in the gut. And he says, I know a lot about the gut, but I know nothing compared to Dr. Joanne Conaway. Like he really loves your research and work and what you do for us.
and I love Ben, and I love it when we have the opportunity to get together and just kind of kibitz about things because he has a wealth of information, and I always learn from him. So I thoroughly enjoy Ben and his whole approach to healthy nutrition, healthy lifestyle.
We respect you. He respects you. And he kept saying, have you had Dr. Conaway on? This is her topic. It's like, she's coming. She's coming. So I'm so excited that day is here. And I mean, you have so much knowledge. I mean, Dr. Conaway, you do a whole course for a dental academy. And so you're very well spoken. You're amazing lectures, folks. If you haven't seen any of her video lectures where she's actually got the whole slides, and oh my goodness, fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And I love having you. I love watching you. I love being able to take the videos from Tuesday night and rewatch them and share them and make sure that they're available where people can get them, but we do have to keep it in a private group, folks. So again, if you're interested in that private group on Facebook, questions at dailywithdoc.com and say, hey, I want in the private Facebook group so I can see Dr. Joanne Conaway's lectures. Now, let's see, Carrie asks, So when you start I-26, we're not supposed to eat eggs at all. And that question is no. Yes, you still eat eggs.
The general rule of thumb is if you're going to eat eggs, and you should, I personally believe you should eat eggs every single day because I believe that they are that beneficial for your body. Egg is the perfect food. And if you think about it like this, what is that egg if it's not coming to your table? Well, that egg ends up being a chick. How could it not be a perfect food to create a little being? Okay. So the egg is the perfect food. And so what I tell people is using the I-26, don't make it a hassle for yourself. If you like eggs every morning for breakfast, eat your eggs, but wait at least 2 hours before you do your I-26. Well, I like my eggs in the evening, and I do your I-26 in the morning. Just do your I-26 either 2 hours before or 2 hours after eggs. That's the general rule of thumb.
Thank you for that clarification. And you know, I looked at the clock just a minute ago. Well, it was actually 8 minutes ago, and now we're a minute after 4. If we could get the co-hosts up on the screen with us, Dr. Conaway, I can't believe how fast this hour has gone by. Thank you so much for all of the knowledge, wisdom, information that you bring to our community, because we are not just a community, we're actually a family. So folks, if somebody referred you to this show, make sure that you get back to them. They're part of our family, and we want to make sure that our family has the recognition and the thanks for sharing this program, because our heart's desire is to help others find a better health journey. Bottom line. And what you heard today is sometimes where you got to start in order to get that, because we live in such an unhealthy, sick time when it comes to our body's wellness. So thank you so much, Dr. Joanne Conaway. Let's give it up for her. And for all of you that are watching us on a replay, make sure that you subscribe to the channel, comment if there's a way to comment. If you have questions, you can ask your questions there. But if you want a faster response, questions at dailywithdoc.com. And if you're not working with anybody and you want an even faster response, we do have a call team standing by at 855-949-3377. Again, that's 855-949-3377. And that is 24 hours a day. And I think we're even 7 days a week now. So we want to make sure that we are available for those who are wanting to reach out and help themselves. Now, if you don't need the help, then you can think of somebody that does. Make sure that you share this program with them. You can even share the phone number. But I could not do this program without my team. I could, but I wouldn't want to, because there's so many moving parts, and I can just focus on the guest, what's being spoken, being a sponge myself as I'm taking in the information so that I can then share it with my clients as well. On the screen with us today, we have Sherry, who's part of my tech crew. She and AJ both are making up that tech crew today, setting up the streams, making sure that the streams continue. We have sound, the descriptions and everything are written, including the email that goes out, which is what AJ does. So make sure that you go to dailywithdoc.com, sign up for our email list so that you can get notifications of when we're going to be live, who we are having, and you can share those emails with others to catch the replays and more information about things to help you on your health journey. So thank you, Sherry. Thank you, AJ. Got you both done at once. We also have with us today Marilyn and Phyllis, both of them doing a fantastic job putting in notes and doing transcription into the chat, which is only available if you are here live with us Wednesday, Thursday, Friday from 12 to 1 Pacific, 1 to 2 Mountain, 2 to 3 Central, 3 to 4 Eastern. By going to, well, pretty soon you're going to have to do this anyway. So let's just start with that. Email us zoom@dailywithdoc.com so that you can register and to be part of our live Zoom audience, and you will receive a link as soon as we pull the trigger on that function, so that you can access the Daily with Doc show and have your private link. So a zoom@dailywithdoc.com, and you'll be able to catch the chat and everything that Marilyn does all 3 days. And Phyllis, she comes in at least 2 days, but Phyllis is also watching out on YouTube and Rumble for questions and bringing them in. So I want to thank both of these ladies as they're sharing their talents and just hearts for others every single time. And last but not least, we have the gentleman who is letting you into the Zoom and who is catching those phone calls when I'm sleeping, Albert, joining us from South Africa. So if you do call in the middle of the night here in the States and you have a South African accent, don't hang up. He's an amazing individual, lots of knowledge and a heart to help others. So and certified holistic health coaches. All of my team here that you see, they are certified holistic health coaches. They have gone through the course offered by the Institute of Holistic Health, which some of the lectures are Dr. Joanne Conaway herself in this training. And if you'd like more information about that, you can go to coach.dailywithdoc.com. Again, that's coach.dailywithdoc.com. And we do have an enrollment special going on, but you're going to have to call that 855-949-3377 in order to get the discount code for that. AJ, did I forget something?
Folks, we got banned from YouTube because I played a replay show where Dr. Wallach was talking about something and they didn't like it. So, let's do our best to share the show. I mean, we have to take precautions nowadays, and we're going to be shutting down the Zoom room to just anyone and everyone. So you want to email zoom@dailywithdoc.com to ensure that you have access when we do migrate to the new Zoom system. And in the interim, while we are not streaming on our normal Critical Health News YouTube channel, you can see the show by going to stream.dailywithdoc.com, or you can go to live.dailywithdoc.com and see the live show. And thank you again, Dr. Conaway.
Thank you, AJ.
Yes, thank you so much. One more time, folks. Do a round of applause and thank you, Dr. Joanne Conaway. Until next time, which I hope will be soon.
We'll make it be soon.
We'll make it be soon. I love that. Absolutely love it. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us here on Daily with Doc and Becca. Get back to the person that shared this program with you and tell them thank you and ask them how you too can get started on a better health journey. If there's no one to thank, again, call team at 855-949-3377. Until next time. Oh, tomorrow, Thursday, the 4th, we will have Dr. Singletary, and we'll be talking about the 12 bad foods. So, bye for now, everybody.
Welcome to Daily with Doc and Becca. This program is for educational purposes only. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences of the individual sharing their testimony. Results vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims regarding health or income. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We are honored to have a founding father of the science of epigenetics guiding us with the best options to obtain or maintain optimal health, Dr. Joel Wallach.